The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, is a 2014 film that I just got back from a screening for. This is obviously directed by Peter Jackson, and it is indeed the final installment of the now Hobbit trilogy. The plot is we see after Smaug, the dragon, has destroyed that village, we see that a war begins because of this. There's a bunch of armies who are headed towards the castle full of gold because they now want this gold. And we see the group of dwarves led by Thorin who is basically ready and willing to defend this gold. And yeah, that's basically the plot. Now, what I thought of The Hobbit 3 was I liked this movie. I did. And I don't know if I'm that surprised by it because I did like the first two. The biggest difference I want to say about this one here is that it's not as long as the first two movies were, or even any of the Lord of the Rings movies, because I went into this fully expecting it to be 2.5, maybe 3 hours, especially because it's the last one. And I don't want to say I was dreading it, but I was sort of going, alright, let's see how long it is before I start to fall asleep. And there are some moments more so in the first half where it's not like it's slow, but it is a lot of plotting and it is a lot of characters politicking on how to get this war going. So I thought, alright, this is probably going to go on for a while. But then once the battle starts, it starts. And then you have a good hour or so for the rest of the movie where it's non-stop battling, it's non-stop fighting, it's non-stop action. And it doesn't slow down. And from that point on, the movie flew by, and like I said, it's only 2 hours. So that was a pleasant surprise. I want to talk about the beginning of the film where we see Smaug, the dragon, from the second movie. And I love the way this movie starts because we get that payoff. That huge cliffhanger from the last movie, and I was so kind of upset that it ended that way, but we get that here right at the beginning. It starts off with a bang, and I really like this Smaug character, not just because he's a big giant dragon that's dangerous and evil and just the way he tears up this whole village, but how cocky he is too. Benedict Cumberbatch, who voices him, just how he talks trash while he's destroying the villages. Luke Evans is pretty much the main character here. I know it's called The Hobbit. I know you're probably not really expecting anyone else to be the main character, but no, Luke Evans is that guy. You see him not only trying to lead the survivors of the village to a new way of life, but then he's also leading in the battle, and he's constantly helping his family, protecting them, and just saving people. I'm like, okay, it's pretty clear on who the main character is. Thorin is also pretty much a main character, but the first half, he's a dick. He's an asshole. They talk about how there's this disease that's corrupting him, and it has something to do with the gold and maybe an influence from Smaug, and he's clearly changed. He's clearly an asshole. Call it whatever you want. He's being a dick. And once you get to the last half of the film, at least I was wondering, why did we even bother with that? Because it just pretty much goes away, and then he's a hero for the rest of it. So it makes me think the only reason why that was there was to manufacture this war to happen. It has to happen for him to be that stubborn. And then you have Gandalf the Grey, obviously Ian McKellen. Very awesome to see him in this film. I almost forgot how awesome it was to see Gandalf on a horse. But there you go. And we have characters like Legolas, who obviously Orlando Bloom was cool. I liked him in the second film, and he's just as, I guess, badass here. But I will admit, it happened a lot more with him, but I guess throughout the whole movie, there's so many points where things happen that are so outlandish, so over the top, and so unbelievable. And I know, this is the Lord of the Rings. This is a complete fantastical type of realm. it sounds dumb for me to say that something was unbelievable or unrealistic, but I just mean as far as the aesthetics, or as far as when you see Legolas fighting in battle. There's just one moment where the area he's standing on starts to crumble down, and he jumps on each stone as it's falling to run his way up to the top. It just, you have to see it to believe it. People laughed in the theater, and not really in a good way. Kind of in a way where you go, really? Really? You have Kate from Lost, I forget her character's name, but obviously that love triangle with the two of them and the dwarf is going on. At least it wasn't as in your face as it was in the second movie, so I will say that. My other complaint, I guess, is just more so because this is a prequel. And I'm finding myself having more issues with prequels now, since there's so many of them now. You look at certain characters and you go, alright, these characters are in the original movies that take place after the events of these movies. So it's hard for me to get invested in certain action moments or certain dramatic moments where these characters might look like they're going to die, or the possibilities there, and I'm just kind of sitting there going, well, I know they're not going to die because they're in the future movies. So that sucked. It sucked that I couldn't put myself into those moments. And then the characters who we don't see in the future films, I pretty much called so many of them that they were going to get killed off. I just thought, okay, well, if they're not in the other movies, then they're probably going to die here. Whether I'm right or I'm wrong, I'll let you watch the film to figure that out. I thought it was interesting that the tone was so much more serious than it was in the first two films, although, like I said, they try to have humorous moments. One character in particular that they tried to have be the big comic relief. He's in the Luke Evans group of characters, and there was maybe one or two moments where I laughed at him, but overall he was just very annoying. I just thought, dude, go the fuck away. And I don't even really think there was a good payoff to the character. It was just like, well, why did we even have him there? Bilbo Baggins, if you've noticed, I haven't mentioned this guy once. And, you know, you'd think this movie is called The Hobbit, you'd think he would be the main character, right? Or at least have this big, heroic growth as a character. No, not really. He's there. He's kind of there in the background. He pops up here and there. Maybe I'm exaggerating. He does have some cool moments. But you kind of feel bad for Martin Freeman, who just, you know, he probably found out he was going to play Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit movie and thought, wow, that's going to be cool. And he was the main character in the first film, but these last two films, he's just kind of there. I also should mention that the screening was in 3D. The 3D really didn't make any much of a difference at all. There was probably one scene where with an arrow coming at the screen, and besides that, don't waste your money on 3D. So guys, my rating for The Hobbit, I'm going to give it a matinee. I do think it is one of the better of the films, pretty much because it's not long. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below if you have any interest in seeing The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!